Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be using some of the compost that we made in an earlier video. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up in the corner up here and you can have a look at that. The compost was made probably about 2 months ago and it's been sitting here and being turned over quite regularly. And today what I'm going to do is take the compost and put it around some of our smaller trees, and I've just started doing some of the smaller ones here. So what we do is we basically make a collar around the bottom with the compost, and that certainly helps this new growth that we've got on these trees here. So I've done a few of them. We've got quite a few more to do. So I've got my little trailer here which I'm going to put some more compost in. So I've just raked out some of the composts out of the pile and it's really nicely broken down now. It's a very dark colour. It's a lovely mix and it smells absolutely wonderful if you could smell it. So what I do to this is you get my dynamic lifter. I've got a bit left in here, so I'm just going to grab a couple of handfuls and I'm just going to mix that into the compost I've got. So this is just going to give it a bit of extra or organic fertilizer in there, and then I'm just going to mix that around with my shovel as I put this into the trailer, and we'll do a couple of loads of that and we'll head up and put it around some of the smaller trees. These are the trees that we've got basically that are inside the fence line around the whole property, and we put in about 330 of these. So these are a Photinia, a red robin plant that grows into quite a nice shrubbing thing, and it is just in the beginning of spring now, so these have got lovely red tips on them. And I thought I would just revisit something I mentioned in the video when we were making the compost, that all these trees were put in at the same time in about March 2019. Some of them have grown okay, some of them have really struggled in some of the poorer soil, especially up the end, and that's where we're about to go now to start putting some compost around them. But these trees are the same size here, and then these bigger ones here is where the old compost pile used to be. It used to be around behind these trees in that area there. So obviously the compost was working because these trees are about 3 times the size of the smaller ones down there. And interestingly enough, when I pulled the compost out with the excavator, and that's also in that composting video, and I put the pile here, what's happened now is that these smaller trees have now taken off. You can see all these great new growth on these red robins that are here, which is right next to where the compost pile is. But if you look at the ones that are further away, then these have very few new leaves on them. So isn't that weird? It just goes to show how much of a difference it makes when you've got compost acting on the soil. Might be a good time also to just give you an update on the wax flowers that we put in. These have been in now about 18 months and we've had mixed success in planting and growing the wax flowers. Some have grown quite well, some have grown quite mediocre, and some have died. So I don't know really what the success in growing them is yet, but it's now just coming into summer and the white variety have come out. So these are ones called a Lehman Pearl on these, and this row was all the same plant, and I've got sort of 4 or 5 different plants that are all flowering. So they're nice, aren't they? So they're white with a yellow centre, the Lehman Pearls. But then we get down here and there's a big gap, so I had a lot in here that have obviously died, and that is mainly because of the wind that we get coming across. These plants are quite thin, quite spindly, with a very small base, and what we've found is when we get a big windstorm that comes in sideways, it tends to tip the plant over, and a lot of these ones were damaged in the wind, and we did stand them up, but they didn't come good. So a lot of those have died. There's a couple of low points along here where they were sitting in water for too long because we've had such a wet summer. It's just been unbelievable. We've had more rain than I can sort of believe. But anyway, this next row here is a slightly different variety of wax flower. So these ones here have a white flower, but it's got a red centre to them, so that's a slightly different variety, and we've got a couple of those growing, a couple of those plants growing. And then up here is another variety, and these are just starting to come out. So it looks like that the white ones come out first and then these ones come out, and these are quite a small little flower. I don't know if you can see that one, but it's sort of a pink and white flower, and there's lots of little buds on this tree that are coming out. So that's another variety. Again, the plants don't look that great, and I'm not too sure if they're supposed to be like spindly and thin like that, or whether they're supposed to be quite bushy. I'm not too sure. But this is the actual first flowering that we've got off these plants in 18 months. So this is another variety, another white one that we planted. And this has got a very small flower, this one. It's smaller than the lemon pearl. And this has got a yellow centre to these ones as well. So they're going okay. We've just cut a whole heap of the pink ones that came in early. These ones here. So that's a pink variety that we've got. And we've actually cut a lot off this particular variety just in the last couple of days. Over on this row here we have another white variety, but these again are slightly different. They have a different coloured centre again, so they're predominantly white but they've got a different coloured centre. So they're quite cool, they're quite nice, and they're actually growing okay. The bush size of the plant looks fine. They seem to be going okay. There's one dead one up the end there which has died because it was actually sitting in the water, I think. So they're going okay. The only other one I'll show you quickly is this variety here, and I've got to find one that's got something coming out. So this is a different looking sort of plant, and this one's just got a whole heap of pink buds here that are just about to come out. So the white ones are coming out now. These will be probably another month away. So that's another pink variety there. These have done okay. Actually, these are the ones that in last summer, when it was very humid and we had a lot of rain, we had problems with these getting a fungus on them, and we had to treat them with a fungicide and cut them right back. So I did that, and they've actually come good now. When they were getting damaged, all the tips died off on them and went yellow, and the plant looked very sick, but they look okay now. I just don't think they like the humidity. Anyway, that's just a small update on what's happening with the wax flowers. I did get a question the other day on one of the videos. Somebody was asking what's happening with the wax flowers. So this is 18 months in. Some success, some failures, but we'll keep plodding along, and hopefully we'll keep growing them. So we're going to head up to the corner up here, and this is probably the worst corner I've got on the property, where the soil just doesn't seem to be much good at all. The trees were put in all at the same time, so the same as those other bigger ones we've just seen, but these are a lot smaller. So this is a typical plant that's up in the bad soil on the property, and you can see that it's really small. It's probably a third of the size of some of the other plants. There's a little bit of red growth. It's just starting to come out, which is normal for this time of year going into spring, but you can see there's a lot of grass that's inside this protective plastic here. So all that's got to come out first, and then we'll put some compost around the base. So the first thing I've got to do is actually pull this up a little bit out of the way, and then I get all this grass down the bottom. So I can just go in and start pulling that out. And and it's got to come down from the top of the plant, so it's a little bit hard to get it out from inside there. I've just cleaned up this plant and got rid of all the grass around the base. That's a big pile of grass that's there, so that was all inside the plastic cover. This plant's small enough that I can luckily still put the plastic back over the top when I finish. So we've pulled a few leaves off, but that's okay. That's the micro irrigation. That's a little adjustable sprinkler head. So all these are plumbed in, so when it does get really hot I can actually put those sprinklers on and water the trees as necessary. But it's been that wet for the last 2 years. We've had an extremely wet summer and we haven't had to water these at all, so but that'll come to an end eventually. We'll get another drought and I'm sure we'll have to start watering again. Alright, I'll just pull that off to the side and then I'll get some compost. So I'll just get some handfuls of this compost. Usually I put about a bucket per tree, which is probably a bit of an overkill. Man, the smell of this stuff is unreal. Pull any sticks out if I see sticks. You'll probably see that I'll uncover some worms in a minute. There's lots of worms in there too, which is good. Right, so then we come back across here. And now I'm just going to put this all around the base of the plant. There. And this will give this a real shot. These will start to jump ahead now when the weather warms up a bit. That'll do for that one. And I'll just put my plastic cover back on. Righto, so I've done that. I've put the plastic tree guard back around the plant. You can see down in the middle here I've got rid of all that grass that was growing up there. Got a nice bed of compost all the way around the plant. And I've put these back on. I was thinking actually of getting rid of these. These have been on the plants now for about 3 years and they're still great. They haven't broken down and they're still nice and flexible. But the benefit is that when you're spraying around the plant, so I use an organic herbicide, a product called Slasher, and when you spray around the plant it allows you to go right around the base of the plant and not get any spray actually on the plant itself. So I've kept these on for the time being. I think they're quite good. Some of the trees are a bit big, they don't need them, but for the minute it's working quite well to leave them on there. Anyway, so that's just one plant I've done. I've got another couple in the corner here to do, and once I've done that then I can work my way all the way back up this line to where I started from. So there's a bit to do, but the weather's nice and sunny and we'll get stuck into it. Righto, thanks for watching. Appreciate all your support. We'll see you next time.